Hello, hello, hello. All right, where can we go? How is everyone this evening?
Very well, thank you.
It's good to see you all here. I'm glad that you are here. Prayer meeting, so we got to do our prayer list and all that good stuff. Somebody sneezed on my bottle.
Uh-oh.
It's not water, I don't know what that is. All right, mercy. What a prayer list. Add, subtract, divide, multiply, anything? We also have a business meeting. Let me take this off. Is that me? Under what? That's what it is. That's grease out of my grease fitting on my neck. Now, anybody to add or take off or anything like that? No? Prayer list stays the same. Or am I doing it wrong? Just let me know if I go the wrong direction. Okay.
Well, the ones that were on the phone prayer list for the last couple of days, I did not put on this list, but I will next week.
Okay. Is there anybody we've been keeping track of that's in the danger zone or anything like that? No? Nothing serious? All right, well, that makes things pretty easy this evening. I must have said something serious because she vibrated in my pocket. And I mentioned as well, we have a business meeting. Everybody, that must be why we have a decent crowd this evening. Do y'all know we have a business meeting tonight? Okay, cool. All right, business. If prayer meeting doesn't get us through the door, the business. All right, well, we're going to pray over our prayer list here. So I think the way we normally do it is the floor is open to anybody who would like to pray, and then I'll finish us up at the end whenever it seems like everyone's finished. Does that sound good? All right, y'all aren't a very talkative bunch tonight, but that's okay. Anyway, so let's go to prayer over our list and whatever else may come to mind. And like I said, whenever y'all are finished, I'll close us out.
Lord, we thank you again for letting us come to your house tonight. Lord, we ask forgiveness for our sins. Lord, we lift up Mark and Casey, Harry and Judy, Lord, and loved ones who had surgery here shortly. Lord, just pray for our church, good things that happen to the Lord Presbyterian tonight. I pray, Lord, that you continue to bless us. Good things, Lord. Help us to do your will.
Our Father, I pray for our country tonight. There's been so many shootings recently, innocent people being shot. This country needs to turn back to you, Lord. And in my prayer.
Dear Lord Jesus, there are a lot of things going on in our country, as well, shootings and other things, Lord. And I always pray, and I pray especially again now that we look to you for guidance and discernment, Lord, to understand and to, I don't know if be weary is the right word, but to do that, Lord, in today's world. These things I pray in Jesus' name.
Father, we thank you for the help and strength you've given us to be here tonight. And I pray that, Lord, that everybody in the prayer list will be touched by you and according to your will. And please keep us all safe and take us home safely and bless all those that we love. You do the pastor tonight, whatever his problem is, and bring him back to us. And we thank you, we have to, Lord, that you always send your Holy Spirit to guide us and let them lead.
God, thank you again for this evening, Lord. I thank you for who you are. God, thank you for the fact that you allowed us here this evening, that church and a community where we can gather as believers to pray and to get into your word and to just love you with our actions and our deeds and our thoughts, Lord. I just pray for this prayer list, which there's far too many names to name individually, but Lord, we know that you know each person on this list intimately. You know every hair on their head. You know whatever ails them. You know the issues, the highs and lows of their lives. And I just pray that you would be in their situations, God, that you would have your will, that you would be glorified in whatever is to occur in their lives, Lord. That if it be your will, you would heal those that need healing. And Lord, whatever your will may be, that we would be able to stomach it and to worship you through it, no matter what goes on. Lord, I just pray for our time tonight that you would bless us. Lord, I pray as well as has been prayed before that you would bless our church, that you would help us to do the things you want us to do, to be the church you want us to be, and to complete our business meeting in accordance with your will as well. I just pray that you would be with us tonight. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right. Cool beans. So I hear that I think I'll probably end up being a little bit short tonight, so we can get our business meeting as well going, and I'll fumble through that. So please bear with me. But I have heard from Pastor Kimmett today. I asked him if there's anything y'all are going through or doing, and he said y'all are going through the Psalms. So somebody catch me up on what we've talked about in the Psalms so far in our journey. I don't know how long we've been psalming. Is that true? Do you agree with him that you've been going through the Psalms?
We were on 46. We just finished 46.
Okay. Well, yeah, that tracks with what he told me, because we're going to look at 47 tonight. So y'all, you're not going through one a week, though. No way. Right? One a week, so it's been 45 weeks y'all been going through the Psalms? Almost a year? That doesn't track. There's no way. It's been less time since I've been up here to do that, and I don't remember him telling me. But hey, so I guess don't catch me up on all 46 songs. I don't want to do that. How about some hit the high notes? Give me some anything that you might remember, anything that might have stuck with you on this discussion of the Psalms so far. What even is a psalm anyway?
Song.
A song. Good enough definition for me. Little poetry, little ancient Hebrew poetry. I would love to have heard these in the original, the original way they were saying them back then. And the original, like the one tonight that was written to the choir master, right? Obviously intended to be sung. I would love to hear what King David's choir sounded like in Hebrew, what that might have been like. Any high notes from the psalm discussion so far? I won't tell Pastor if there are. I'm sure there have been some. It's hard to remember though. But when I think psalms, I think worship. I think high highs. I think low lows. And fortunately tonight our psalm is a high one. So I was asked to come up here this morning. I think I got the message when I was taking Lily to school. So I was already a little bit bound up because the off-ramp on exit 115, it took me probably 15 minutes to get from I-26 to Charleston Highway, like just to get on the road. And we were late for school while I was late for work. So I was already a little bit peeved, which we can all understand traffic. Traffic has as slow as it has a fast track to the darkest parts of my heart. I'm thinking about running over fences, and I don't have anything nice to think about anybody I see. So I was already a little bit keyed up, and then I got a message as I was pulling in the parking lot from Pastor Kimmett to see if I could cover tonight. And my first thought was, well, I don't have any time to prepare. Like I don't have any time to think something up, or I don't even have time to sit and pray. And I got to sit here and work all day, and then when I get home, I'll go home, and I had 45 minutes at the house to eat, and then came here. So if there wasn't, I was bugged because I don't have a lot of time to prep. But I asked him what y'all have been doing, and he said we were going to do Psalm 47 tonight. And so I read that and buoyed nothing they can use. There's nothing we can use. I can't come up with some interesting how to apply this to your life from this song. Here, well, let's read it so you can kind of see where I'm coming from, if you will. But Psalm 47. I can't tell you what page you're on. I'm on page 472 in my Bible, but you're probably somewhere close to that. But Psalm 47, and it says, "To the choir master, a psalm of the sons of Korah." Does that ring any bells for anybody? It did me when I read that. Does anybody remember the name Korah? The first time you read about him, you would not expect him to be writing songs. You remember back in the wandering, the 40 years of wandering in the desert, you remember there was a group of people who got upset with Moses and God swallowed them up into the earth? That was a rebellion led by Korah, the same person. But later in David's time, his descendants, God spared his sons and his descendants. He redeemed that bloodline, it seems, because now the sons of this person who rebelled against Aaron and Moses and got him and 250 other dudes sucked up into the earth, his ancestors are now leading the choir in David's court. So I thought that was pretty cool. But when I read that, I thought, I don't normally have fuzzy feelings when I read Korah. But anyway, apparently God redeemed their bloodline, which is very cool. But verse 1. "Clap your hands, all you people. Shout to God with loud songs of joy. For the Lord, the Most High, is to be feared, a great king over all the earth. He subdued peoples under us and nations under our feet. He chose our heritage for us, the pride of Jacob, whom he loves. God has gone up with a shout of the Lord with the sound of a trumpet. Sing praises to God, sing praises. Sing praises to our King, sing praises, for God is the King of all the earth. Sing praises with a song. God reigns over the nations. God sits on his holy throne. The princes of the people gather as the people of the God of Abraham. For the shields of the earth belong to God. He is highly exalted." Again, that does not read like poetry to us in English, but I bet it just it sounded very good in Hebrew. I wish I could do that for you, but I can't. But in reading that, I think hopefully you can identify with me that if you were told to teach that passage, it might be a hard one to teach. There's not a whole lot of, it's not the fruit of the Spirit. Fruit of the Spirit's easy to teach. You should be patient. You should love. You should have joy. You should be patient. That kind of thing. But there's not a whole lot teachable there. So that's another thing that when I was, preparing and I just, I read it real quick this morning, so I could be kind of thinking over it during the day, and I continue to think that there's just not a whole lot to go on that I can make something practical out of this. And then that caused me to go back to my hermeneutical background, which is just one class in college, but we had a hermeneutics conversation one night. If you remember, I got the opportunity to talk to you about hermeneutics, which is the science of interpreting writing. We usually use it with the Bible, but it's just interpretation. And one of the most important things to remember when you're trying to interpret Scripture is, what did the author intend? Right? Whenever you read Scripture, you don't want to just pick out random phrases that mean whatever you think they mean. When you're reading Romans, you want to know what Paul meant. Right? You don't want to know what you mean. You want to know what Paul meant. And in this way, I was like, well, what's the author want me to do with this? And it hit me. There is no practical information here. The author did not intend for me to be able to take this and put it to work. The author is not handing me a rake or a hammer or something with this song. The author is worshiping God. The author is writing a poem. He is, whoever this author was, or maybe it was this group, the Psalm of the Sons of Korah, so I don't know if they get together and write them, or is it just one guy. But this psalm is a psalm of worship, overcome with the joy at what God has done for the people of Israel, overcome with joy at what God has done with his life personally. This is just a psalm that is an outpouring of this person's spirit, how they worship God, how they want to extol him, how they want to bring glory to him. And there's not more that I can create to help me spread the gospel easier, or to help me serve the church easier, necessarily. But it was important for me to evaluate myself and think, wait a second. there's a problem there. There's a problem where I can read a psalm, I can read several paragraphs, stanzas of worship, and my immediate feeling is, well, I'm uncomfortable because this isn't something I can use. I'm a little bit uncomfortable because this isn't a tool that I can pick up to further either my spiritual walk or to help someone in need or support the church in some way. And I think that kind of begs the question, why is this mindset not one that is easy for us? And maybe it is for you. Maybe you walk around your home or work or whatever during the day and you're just overcome with outpourings of worship. Maybe that's how it is for you. But I am very much a victim of looking at God the wrong way sometimes. And that's what thinking about this song, I think, convicted me of, is that whenever I think about God, and I think the way, whenever we as the modern church think about God, we are primarily concerned with, in what way does God benefit me? Not necessarily in a greedy kind of thing. I'm not saying that whenever you think about God, you're only thinking about, I got to get something. I want to get money or way He's going to make me rich. I'm not saying that. But in some way, the way we interact with God in modern times is to receive. Receive blessings in some way. Look at our prayer list. Our prayer list is pretty much only prayers for healing. And it's not bad to pray for healing. There's nothing wrong with that. We're supposed to pray for healing. We're supposed to pray for the sick. But that's all. This is all for us. This is all people-centered. This is all us-centered. And there's nothing, again, wrong with praying for the sick and praying for healing, but do we ever stop and just rejoice over the ways we've seen God heal? Do we ever stop and rejoice in the other things that we've seen God do? A lot of times, I'm very guilty of this. I'm going to skip this Sunday night singing. It's just singing. I'm not going to get anything out of it. I've left sermons and thought, sermon was okay, but I didn't really get anything out of it. I think that's messed up. I don't think that's the way we ought to think about God. And I think our culture, which has this God of self thing, and we fight it, we do our best to fight it. But our culture is one that tells us you have to take care of yourself. Especially, 2020 is on. It's like if something bothers you, it ain't good. You have to prioritize your happiness, prioritize your joy, prioritize yourself. And as hard as we try to fight it, that seeps in. That seeps into the way we think about God. And it seeps into the way the church puts God out. What's the main thing that we try to get people into the church with? We try to convince them of their eternal damnation, and God has a fix for you. You're in a bad state, and God has a fix for you. And a lot of times, if we can get people laid low enough to where they're concerned with their sin, we can kind of get them to do whatever we want. We can get them into the church, they can start serving. But is there worship in that, is the question. Is there God's glory in us handing out salvation as a lure to bring people in? None of these things are bad. Salvation is wonderful. Half of these songs are about God saving us. The New Testament is full of praise for God's salvation, for Christ, His death, and His resurrection. That is the epitome of what Christianity is. But I think there's a right way and a wrong way to think about it. If salvation is our only goal, and we will do whatever it takes to get there, if we're just scared of hell, and we just want that salvation, is there worship in that? Or do we worship the God who's given us our salvation? Do we recognize that God is who He says He is, and that we have wronged Him, and we need salvation? And there are little things like that, but they reveal, I think, a larger foundational issue that we might have. And I'm not calling anybody out in particular more than myself, but I'm sure hopefully you guys can identify. Think about prayer meetings. A lot of times it's just prayer meeting. I don't get much out of prayer meeting. I'll come Sunday. It's just Sunday school. I don't really get much out of Sunday school. Everybody asks annoying questions, and I just come to preaching because that's where the meat of it is. That's where I can come and get something out of this service. But that's just my question: is how often do we think, and how often do we behave the way the psalmist write. That writing is completely foreign to me. I heard that Pastor Kenneth had y'all write a bunch. Who was here to write songs that one night? Didn't he have you write some songs? I heard there were some good ones. I heard there were some poets among us. But this is I think it's very foreign to us. When we read the Psalms, I read them and I could never imagine myself being so overcome with joy at what God has done and who He is. Not overcome with joy that, like, God, you have blessed me with this physical thing, or God, thank you for this healing, or what, just who God is. Being overcome with His glory, that I would sit down and write a poem that I would sing. That is a foreign thought to me. And I want it to not be. So that's just kind of what I identified in reading that psalm. I identified it in myself, is that I don't know, do we have any Star Wars fans in the house, anybody? Remember Phantom Menace, back in 1999, I believe, is when Phantom Menace came out. If you're unfamiliar, original Star Wars, you had the first three, you had A New Hope, you had Empire Strikes Back, and you had The Last Jedi. Those came out, late 70s and the 80s, I believe. Right? I missed those. I wasn't there in the theaters for those. But those turned out, George Lucas pulled a fast one on us, those turned out to be episodes 4, 5, and 6. He's got to tell us how we got Darth Vader. So we go back, 1999, The Phantom Menace comes out. And so then we learn about little baby Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. And that's the big twist and stuff like that. There's a scene in that movie where they're underwater, and they're in this little spaceship underwater, and there's these sea monsters that keep trying to get them. And there's this one that's about to get them. It's huge, huge sea monster. It's crazy large. It's about to bite on. It's biting on their ship, and they're about to, it's about to get them. And then another fish comes and eats that fish. And then Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson, says, "There's always a bigger fish." And then we go off into they get where they're going. And I say all that to say is that what a blessing it is that no matter how long you live in the Christian life, and even though I'm still, arguably, I guess, young, I still have the benefit of being a Christian for a long time. And you think that you got some stuff. You think that you're getting there. You think that the sin issues in your life, I've got less sin than I have. I'm working it down. God is getting me there. I'm almost there. And then, there's a bigger fish. Like you peel back one sin, and then there's this other one where you're like, man, I've still got things just in my foundation. There are cracks in my foundation about the way I think about my God, and this is one of them. And I challenge us as we move forward to try to think with the mind and the heart of a psalmist, to try to appreciate God for who He is, in irrespective of what He's done. We tend to think of this whole universe as human-centric. God created man because He was lonely. I hate that. That's not true. That doesn't make any sense. God's not lonely. God is fulfilled. God is perfect. God is complete. God created man because He desired that we be here, right? And that we worship Him. I had a train of thought. I lost a little bit on that one. Whenever I say God made us because He's lonely. No, sorry, we think about the world as human-centric, right? God made the world so that He could give humans blessings and so that He could fix our sin and this, that, and the other. Like, there's an infinity of God beyond His dealing with humans. God existed in time before and time after, and there's so much more to this whole blessed universe that we get to be a part of than just His dealing with humans. And could we in the future be worshipers of God who worship Him for who He is, for how He's worthy of worship, for how He's mighty and He is all-powerful and He made us and He made this world? Can we worship Him for those things without having to be given anything, without having to be blessed for the worship? That's my challenge. That's my challenge tonight. I won't talk anymore. But that's what reading this song, it pricked a piece of me that there's always something for us to get right on. We're supposed to work out our salvation with fear and trembling, and part of this is trembling for me that even deep in the foundation of how I think about God and how this day forward, hopefully challenge you and myself to think like a psalmist, to worship God for who He is and for what He is, even before we consider the blessings that He's given us. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Hope so. Got a little rambly there, but I get passionate, my mustache starts to sweat, and then I start rambling. Okay. Any questions, concerns, thoughts, disagreements, rotten tomatoes to throw? Anything at all? All right. Then I dismiss you from this part.